The movie begins with Bosco at his dad's house, who is making a puzzle. His drunk dad, Tootie, accompanies him and belittles him for solving puzzles and not being a grown man who earns the bread for the house because he does that. Tootie destroys the puzzle and tells Bosco to grow up. Suddenly, they hear police sirens, so Tootie panics because he is also a drug dealer. He hides a stash of drugs in Bosco's bag and tells him to run to his mama's house. Bosco quickly escapes, and the movie shifts to 15 years in the future. In 2006, we see an adult Bosco who is still running from the police and living a life of drug dealings and crime. Bosco reveals he has been imprisoned multiple times, but he runs away every time, so this time he gets arrested and sent to a Supermax prison. Bosco got caught with weed and is sentenced to 35 years in Supermax prison. Officer Ramos escorts Bosco to his cell, where we meet his neighbor prisoners, Rooster and the Bull. Bosco is mad for getting such a serious punishment just for weed, so he starts cussing at the camera in his cell and breaks it. We meet Warden Hunt, who is monitoring Bosco's cell. Supermax prisons have phones installed in cells that can only call for a minute, so Bosco calls his girlfriend Lori, but she hangs up on him. The Bull starts a conversation with Bosco and reveals he has been here for a year. Bosco asks what he's in for, so he reveals he attacked a commissary guard. Officer Ramos and Hunt arrive at Bosco's cell and uncuff him. Hunt is here to talk about the camera Bosco broke and warns him not to do it again. He tells him not to escape, otherwise he'll get shot in the head. Hunt also hands Bosco a letter from Lori and a picture, confirming she is pregnant. Hunt taunts Bosco about never getting to see his child, so Bosco tries to attack him, but Ramos tases him. Bosco is now beaten by the cops and thrown in the desert, which is an isolated cell for misbehaving prisoners. In a flashback, we see little Bosco trying to console his mom. Bosco's mom is fed up with her husband, Tootie, and doesn't want Bosco to turn out like him. She tells him to make the right choices, and now in the present, after 2 weeks of desert punishment, Bosco is brought back to his cell, where food and clean clothes are placed for him along with Lori's letter. Bosco notices the picture of his unborn child is missing, which he was eager to see, but it's in Hunt's hands, who just wants to torture Bosco. Lori mentions in the letter that she's 3 months pregnant and wants Bosco to never contact her again. Bosco is on the toilet seat for a while, which is a blind spot for the camera, so Hunt tells Bosco through the speaker to show himself. Otherwise, he'll have to visit his cell. Bosco waves his hand in the camera to assure us he's still in his cell. The next day, Bosco hears crickets on the other side of his cell, which reminds him of freedom. He remembers his memories with Lori and his mother, along with the memories of getting caught in a drug deal with his dad that put him in Supermax. Bosco wakes up, realizing he was dreaming, so he plans his escape. He starts counting the timing of the guards and tries to remember the prison layout, which he only saw once on his arrival. That day, Ramos arrives with another guard to inspect Bosco's room. Bosco thinks of stealing their taser and attacking them, but realizes it won't work. Bosco starts exercising daily and one day asks the Bull for a favor. He promises the Bull to get a new tattoo in exchange for sending a letter along with some supplies. Bosco gets himself a pencil, some batteries, and other accessories. He uses them to change the setting of his cell dial pad so he can call for longer periods. Bosco hears a buzzer and stops messing with the phone because the guards are bringing in a new inmate who is placed right in front of Bosco's cell. Bosco realizes the inmate is young and might snitch on him because he can see every activity in Bosco's cell. Bosco manages to alter the phone settings and calls his friend Twink, to whom he sent a letter requesting a book that secretly hoards a blade. Twink is dubious, so Bosco tells him to use a ceramic blade that the metal detectors won't be able to detect. After a while, Bull asks Bosco if he shot Tupac because that's the rumor he heard about Bosco. Bosco denies the rumor, mentioning he and his pops liked Tupac. The Bull reads a magazine that mentions an ad of a 27-year-old woman named Tammy, who is looking for a partner along with her number, so Bosco tries to shoot his shot. At night, he calls the number and talks with Tammy. Tammy turns out to be supportive of Bosco, despite his imprisonment. Bosco shares his prison experience and penalty with Tammy, and she sympathizes with him. Tammy wants to help Bosco, so she offers him money. Warden Hunt arrives, so Bosco hangs up on Tammy. Bosco's book has arrived, the one with the blade, but Hunt suspects the book and takes it back to the metal detector. Now, we see the guards extracting a violent prisoner, while Bosco reveals that the fate of violent prisoners is always violent. Bosco mentions he won't end up like that, so he calls Lori again. Bosco apologizes for not being there for her and wishes to be by her side when their child is born, but Lori cuts him off again. One day, Officer Ramos informs Bosco that he's got a female visitor. Bosco meets her, and it's Tammy, who turns out to be a fat, white girl. They both are seeing each other for the first time, and they both find each other attractive. Afterward, Bosco checks off a few items he can buy from the cops to pay off the bull since Tammy paid for him. After a few days, while taking a supervised shower, Hunt informs Bosco that his father passed away in prison. Hunt taunts Bosco for also ending up like his father and tells him his child is also going to end up like him in prison. Bosco is furious, but tries to control himself so he doesn't get sent to the desert again, which will ruin his escape plan. Hunt tests Bosco's patience and punches him. He kicks him, but Bosco still doesn't lose his temper. We see a flashback to 1985 when Tootie sent Bosco to his mom's house with a stash of drugs in his backpack. Bosco's mom is pissed because she doesn't want to get dragged into Tootie's dealings. So, she tells Bosco to leave her house, but Bosco pleads to stay. His mom allows him to stay, but lectures him to never lie to her. In the present, Bosco is brought back to his cell, where Hunt still suspects Bosco's book, which Twink sent him. As the cops leave, Bosco quickly finds the blade in the book and starts counting the time Hunt takes to reach his office to monitor through the camera. Bosco now pretends to read his book, and we see the day Bosco got arrested. He meets with his dad to help him with a drug deal. They are waiting for two guys, and as they arrive, Tootie hands Bosco a gun for emergencies and tells him to wait for his cue to bring the drugs from the trunk. Back in his cell, Bosco now notices Hunt and Ramos manhandling the new inmate in front of his cell. The new inmate is a junkie and going crazy due to a lack of drugs, so Bosco tells Hunt to take him to a psych clinic, but Hunt doesn't listen to him. Bosco now focuses on his mission and starts cutting the ceiling with the blade. He cuts open the ceiling and enters the vents until he hears a buzzer and quickly returns. Hunt quickly rushes to the new inmate's cell, who is dead because Hunt handcuffed him and it cut his wrists. Bosco starts yelling at Hunt for being a murderer and shames him, so Hunt sends Bosco to the desert for a month. Ramos beats Bosco and puts him in the desert box. After some time, Hunt feels guilty and responsible for the junkie's death, so Ramos invites him to a party, but he refuses. We also see another flashback of Tootie's drug deal with Bosco. Bosco brings the drugs to the buyers and heads to their van, but the buyers turn out to be FBI agents who surround them and arrest Tootie and Bosco. It's been 2 weeks, so Tammy arrives at the station and complains about not hearing from Bosco. The front desk officer doesn't answer her questions and sends her off. Tammy returns home to her abusive father and looks for mail or a letter from Bosco, but there isn't any. Eventually, Bosco returns to his cell and calls Tammy. He apologizes for not calling and reveals that he was punished. They both patch up, so Bosco asks her to help him escape. As more days pass, Bosco sneakily explores the tunnels to find a way out but doesn't find any, which puzzles him. One day, the guards arrive at their cell to extract the bull for a parole meeting, but he declines to comply and fights the guards. The guards surround him and beat him to a pulp. Bosco is now panicking because Bull was a supplier for him, and now he's gone. Bosco continues searching the vents and finds a hole in their ceilings. He climbs through the hole and enters the attic. He looks outside the window to scan the area and hatches up an escape plan at night. Hunt is off duty, so Ramos is covering him. Ramos notices the picture of Bosco's child in the drawer and decides to gift it to Bosco. Meanwhile, Tammy is waiting outside the prison for Bosco. Bosco climbs out of the prison using sheets, but falls on the ground. Ramos arrives at Bosco's cell and finds out Bosco has escaped through the vents. Bosco runs towards Tammy's car, and they escape as Ramos alerts the prison. Hunt listens to the news of Bosco escaping and cuffs himself out of guilt and cries. In the morning, we see Bosco and Tammy at a motel where he calls Lori for help, but she refuses. She tells him that he'll be running all his life and needs to make amends for his mistakes. Bosco understands and breaks up with Tammy. Tammy returns home where her dad and the cops await her. Bosco stays at the motel where the cops raid and arrest him as Bosco is tired of running his entire life. After 5 years, Lori visits him in prison, along with his 5-year-old daughter. It is revealed that Quawntay Bosco Adams was released in 2020 in real life. Now, he runs a non-profit called Chasing Freedom that helps inmates with experiences like his. Bosco spends most of the time with his daughter now, and the movie ends here. I am sure you liked the story recap. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more amazing recaps like that.